Hey Dax, before we get started with the show, we're going to start with one of your favorite subjects. Any idea what that is?
My God, let's see. Wrestling, family, it's sex. It's got to be sex, right?
It is. You said if there's one thing you like more than wrestling, it is good sex. And that's a good thing because the nights are getting longer, but that's not the only thing that's getting stiff. That's right. This episode is brought to you by Blue Chew. Guys, we know that confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom. And Blue Chew is here for you. You know that. Especially when it's time to step up to the plate. That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Dax Harwood, we're very grateful to the people at Blue Chew for sponsoring our show, aren't we?
Well, yeah, for sponsoring, but I'm grateful personally for what they've done for me. So I told you before we got on air that I'm planning on a vacation for me and my wife to Charleston. Where I realized that time is starting to tick away as far as being at home because April is approaching very, very fast. And I was thinking to myself, man, Charleston, a beautiful city, a lot of history, a lot of great food, a lot of great downtown area. But how can I make this extra special? And I realized to make it extra special, I got to pack my Blue Chew because Blue Chew is going to help me pack. You know what I mean? And as long as I'm packing that extra little bit of punch, Blue Chew will be with me all the time.
That's right, folks. Don't be David Softwood. Be Dax Hardwood. With BlueChew.com, you will have no problems at all. And today is a great day to get started because if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. Have better sex. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code DAX at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code DAX. To receive your first month free, visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Hello, wrestling friends. I'm Matt Kuhn, which means you're listening to FTR with Dax Harwood. And now, joining us, Fightful.com's in-ring performer of the year, as well as a lot of other awards, Mr. Dax Harwood. How you doing there, Dax?
Not too bad. I left my Carolina State game to come down here and record because I love you. I love the podcast listeners, and I love professional wrestling. So let's cross our fingers for the UNC Tar Heels. Because State is ranked. I couldn't believe it. I told my wife that NC State was ranked. I think they're ranked number 23. And this is the first time that I can remember in a very, very, very long time that NC State is ranked in the top 25 and Carolina is not. So we need this win, dude. We need this win because March Madness is right around the corner and we got to get into the tournament.
You guys aren't even in the top 25?
No, we were ranked number one. Pre-ranking, preseason, we were number one, and then the first few weeks we were number one as well. But watching them in the first few games they had, I realized really quickly that they weren't going to be number one for very long. They're just, I don't know, man. They're not even a young team, so I can't blame it on that. I don't know what it is, dude. It's just last year they were great. They made it to the championship game, got the same players this year, and it seems like there's just no chemistry with these guys. It's very weird.
Dean Smith would not be happy with this situation. No, I will tell you that much.
No way.
So when they were ranked number one, maybe they did what happened to you guys. Maybe they were ranked number one and they just kept them off TV for like 6 months. and they cooled down, and now they can't win anything.
Okay, well, I didn't say that. So, listen, we don't know where the future lies for me, dude. I can't be ruffling too many feathers.
Oh, my
Jesus,
bad.
I've gotten enough trouble over the last since I've become friends with you. I've gotten more trouble now than I ever have in my whole career. But who gives a fuck?
It's entirely my fault for sure. Just joking. We joke around here, but what we're not joking about today is.
But not really, joking. He's kind of telling the truth too.
You ruined it. We're doing something that's really unusual today. Like, people don't realize how unusual this is. We have a wrestler in the prime of their career who is going to be doing a review of an event for another company, the rival company, at the same time. I think it's an awesome thing. We're going to be covering Elimination Chamber in depth, but that's not all, is it, Dax?
No, that's not all. One of my very best friends in the world got to make her dreams come true last night, and I watched, obviously, and I was so proud of her. Mercedes, I was so proud of her, what she accomplished. She set out to do this, and this for as long as I can remember. This has been for 13 years, 13 years. It's been 11 years. She's said this is what she's wanted to do. This is where she's wanted to go. This is her wrestling. She loves Japan. She loves New Japan. So being able to leave and Cash and myself, we can feel with her because we know exactly how that feels. We left our dream job and we left the comfort of a dream job and decided to it's almost cliche to say now. And I hate even saying it, but that's because I can't think of another word. I can't think of another phrase, but we bet on ourselves. And I feel like we come out better on the other side for it. And I think Mercedes is doing the same thing and will do the same thing. So we'll talk about some of the matches from
New Japan in the Valley.
Battle at the Valley. Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of Elimination Chamber, I told you this morning when I was watching the pay-per-view back that, and I don't want this to get misquoted or clickbait or whatever, but all because I just haven't made time for it, not because I don't want to. I just haven't made time for it. This is the first WWE event that I have watched in its entirety since I left the company. I'm talking about the Raws, the SmackDowns, NXTs, and pay-per-views or premium live events. This is the very first one that I've watched from front to back.
Wow.
So I was really excited this morning as I was sipping on my coffee and watching some of the stuff. It was a hell of a pay-per-view.
What is there a part of it, maybe a small part of it? You leave your old place, you leave your dream job, and you're like, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see anything. And now maybe you're in a better place and you're ready to kind of look at it again. Yeah,
I don't know. I think at first I was a little disenchanted with how things went down for us and
sure.
And us leaving and all this stuff. And so if I were to have watched it, I think it would have just amplified those feelings while I was, sitting at home waiting to start with AEW. But going to AEW, I just never really found the time to go back and start immersing myself back into stuff. Now I've watched some of the some matches or promos or something people have told me that I need to watch. Like I watched, I'm not exactly sure the event. You might can help me out, but I watched the Street Profits versus Usos tag team match. Maybe it was SummerSlam.
They've wrestled a lot.
Okay, this was one of the premium live events, and they had a hell of a match, dude. So I've watched some of this stuff, and I follow all their social media. I think I do, but anyway, I kept up through that. But this is the first event that I've watched, and I was very pleased with what I saw. It seems like it's a much different product than when I left 3 years ago.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about those differences. We're going to talk about both of those events. But first of all, we're going to talk about FTR with Dax Harwood live in Los Angeles, Mania weekend, Thursday, March 30th, 8 p.m. at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel. Dax, I am super excited about it. Everybody's excited about it. Tickets are selling. Of course, get your tickets at ftrwithdax.com. How excited are you for our live show now that we've made the announcement?
Dude, I'm super excited. This is my first one ever, so there might be some kinks. There might be some, we might make a spill or two, but that's a learning process for us. And I'm just glad that there's people who want to come along this ride and join us in LA for that. And I think it's going to be fun. I know we've got a few guests lined up, and I know we've got some surprises lined up as well. But whatever happens and whatever we do, I want to have fun, and I want the fans that come along for the ride that night to have just as much fun as I do. So, we'll be sipping tequila, telling stories, taking questions, meeting and greeting, saying hello. And, I'm very, very, very happy with what we're doing.
Now, of course, right now we have an early bird special for tickets. It won't last long. But the VIP tickets, Dax, I don't know if you're aware, but I kind of came up with this idea because we're a little bit different. We're not going to do a pre-meet and greet. We're going to, if you get a VIP, you'll get preferred seating, but we're doing an after show, tequila sipping, hang with Dax meet and greet. How does that sound to you?
That sounds like a recipe for disaster. If we're going to be drinking all through the night there, and then we're going to have a little bit more after with some fans, I could see myself having some loose lips with moderate pores, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
And liquor's really easy to buy in California. But I will say that we've talked a little bit about some possible guests. A couple of them dropped my jaw a little bit, but we're going to hold some surprises, but we're going to announce some guests too. Dax, are you ready to announce our first guest confirmed for FTR with Dax Harwood live in Los Angeles on March 30th?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've kept him away from y'all, folks. He has been, by his own words, holed up in a cave, not talking to anybody, not really doing anything, and happy as a lamb. But I think he's ready to come out and say some things. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to say that our first guest will be Mr. Cash Wheeler of FTR. Daniel Wheeler, your partner, your brother, your best friend. How amazing is that? And that means if you ask Dax a question at the show, you can ask them both a question. We couldn't do it without Dan, right?
No, there's going to be an episode focused strictly on Cash, and we're going to have him on the show. But in LA, my first live event, of course I had to have him with me. I asked him, and he said he would be honored to do it. He's been nothing but supportive over the last year from the singles run, but also from how well the podcast has been doing. He's been so gracious to me, and he's one of the 3 people that I have talked to who have agreed to come, and having him means the world to me, because without him I have none of this is possible. No one would even know who I am. I couldn't provide for the family the way I provide for them. I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't have this podcast, and I wouldn't be what I can I hope I can say. I wouldn't be successful at all in professional wrestling. He is the reason that I have what I have, and I can't think of enough, and I'm so happy so happy he's going to be there with us in LA.
Well, I love Cash, and I'm really glad he's going to be part of the live show.
Yeah, me too. I think everyone loves Cash, and that's what keeps us around and it keeps us having steady jobs, because they love Cash and they tolerate me. So I think also my family thinks that too. Sometimes they always love Cash and Uncle Dan, but they tolerate me. So yes, I'm very happy, very excited, and I can't wait for LA, dude.
Well, we're going to tell some stories we can't tell on the podcast, for sure. We're going to have some guests that will be surprise guests, but also announced guests. We might make another announcement next week, but it's starting to fill up. We've already got one Cash Wheeler at the show, but now let's fill up ourselves. Mr. Dax Harwood, do you have a tequila of the week?
I do, yep. This one I've been waiting for. I didn't even open it because I wanted to open it here first. For the longest time, and I think probably still, my favorite brand of tequila is G4 Tequila. The very first bottle I got was of an extra añejo, which was aged for 3 years, and Baron Corbin sent it to me. And so I opened it and I tasted it, and it was the best tequila I had ever had up until that point in my life. It was so good. It had the agave flavor. It had a good little lasting taste on the palate. It was very peppery, but man, it was great. I've had their Blanco. Their Blanco is really good. I've had their Reposado. Reposado is also very good. This is the first time though I've had the standard añejo, so I'm looking forward to that.
So you got your bottle. You're opening it up. We have yet to mask there. Oh, there's the sound. There's the sound. That's the sound that brings a smile to Dax Harwood's face.
Oh, already getting the pepper, but not like black pepper though. Maybe like white pepper. Okay. Very good. Okay.
For those who have never watched the show, Dax takes a large whiff before he pours it, and then he pours in the glass, and then takes another whiff, and he has poured it.
So right now, before we take a sip, for the people who are watching at home, I'm going to bring it a little closer. Like I said, this is añejo and an añejo. So usually the añejos are way darker for some of the higher brands, like the Patrons and stuff, because they do have additives to make them a little darker. But this one, if you see here, I'm going to come a little closer. Hold on one second. You see there, it's got like a yellowish tint to it. You know what I mean? Like a
light champagne.
Yeah, like a very light champagne, but you can still kind of, it's almost clear, And so I don't know, that shows you that there are no additives, nothing to help with the color, nothing like that. And now we're going to sniff it. Oh, I already love this. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm blushing like a freaking schoolgirl.
He's so happy, guys. He's so happy.
And so when you take a whiff of the tequila, when you want to get the aromas and stuff, first thing you want to do is you want to take your nose and put it right to the edge of the glass and then breathe in. So yes, first thing I smelled, me, I don't know. I think the first thing that I smell, my mouth just watered, is the agave. I can smell the earthy agave in it. And then followed right by that is the pepper. And like I said, it doesn't smell like black pepper to me, because usually sometimes the black pepper makes my nose tingle a little bit, but this just smells like maybe like a white pepper. And then the back end of the aroma, I can kind of smell the citrus. Okay. I'm going to let it air out for just a second. And one more thing I'm going to show to the camera is whenever you have a good quality tequila and excuse me, and they don't have the additives like glycerin to make it a little thicker, you can look at the glass and what the tequila snobs, there we go, call the legs of the tequila.
Sure.
You can see it running down the glass. So now let's finally get that taste.
And he sips. He's swishing it around. What do you think, Dax Harwood?
So far, this is the best añejo I've ever tasted. Let's see. One more.
He loved tequila so much. It's great. It's my favorite thing.
Okay. Very first taste. Very, 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 very first taste is the agave. The agave is a natural sweetener, but it has a little bit of a minerally, earthy kind of taste to it. That's the very, very first thing that I taste is the agave. And then a little bit of almost like, I said I smelled the citrus, and I do on the back end of I tasted, but the very, first flavor besides the agave, the first flavor profile is like maybe cherries, you know what I mean? Dark cherries or something. That's really good, dude. Man, G4 is very, very, very hard to find. I had to scour high and low for this. And the person that I found that had it, they had to scour through their warehouse to find it too. They knew they had one, and it took them 3 weeks after I had bought it to find it. And they finally found it. So yes, if any of our listeners know where to get G4, especially this añejo, please, please, please drop me a comment. Let us know. I will go out of my way to purchase it because this is the best añejo I've ever had.
A scale of 1 to 10, Dax Harwood on the tequila of the week this week.
Oh my gosh,
It's a 9?
9-1 for sure.
Wow, we broke the 9 barrier, folks.
Yeah.
What's the brand name? One more time for everybody at home.
G4 añejo.
It sounds incredible. And something else that's incredible, Dax Harwood, is Athletic Greens. You use Athletic Greens. You like Athletic Greens, and Athletic Greens is something that you still take every single day. You gave it a try because, you wanted to have better gut health and sustained energy, a better immune system, but mostly kind of getting those nutrients in. A lot of people don't like other ways of getting those nutrients in that you get with Athletic Greens. When do you take it, Dax? What time of the day? And in what form do you take your Athletic Greens?
Yeah, well, I always take my Athletic Greens post-workout. I take it in my post-workout shake with my creatine because when you go work out at the gym, you push weights, you kind of like you tear the fibers in the muscle, and you obviously you do damage to the body because you're lifting a shit ton of weight. And those nutrients in the Athletic Greens, I feel, and I've read research on every single vitamin, mineral, and nutrient, and how they repair and how they help the repairing process and the recovery. So I take it post-workout. My wife takes it every single morning when she wakes up. Like I've told you before, she throws it in water, takes the milk frother, puts it in there, milk froth, and then a little bit of lemon juice for the gut health as well. And we've also given it to her dad and bought it for her dad. So it's a whole family ordeal here at the Harwood house.
The Harwood family is an Athletic Greens family for sure. And in case you're wondering what it does for you, it's comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. It's great for recovery. And like Dax says, he takes it after the workout because it is great for recovery. It empowers the gut for whole body health. It inspires you to be as great as you can be, especially if you're an athlete like one Dax Harwood. It's much more than a greens powder. It's all of your key health products in one. Now, if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you guys at home, listeners of FTR with Dax Harwood, a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/FTR. That's athleticgreens.com/FTR. Check them out. Dax loves them. Dax's wife loves them. Dax's wife's father loves them. And you'll love them too. Isn't that right, Dax?
That's absolutely right. And also a good little friend of mine used the FTR code and got him herself FTR code for the DMD, and she loves them too.
So we are going to get started with the show, guys. We're going to talk about Elimination Chamber. But first, we are going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, Battle in the Valley. Guys, there's a lot of wrestling to watch this weekend, and we watched all of Elimination Chamber. But we're only going to cover 3 of the matches, I believe, from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Battle in the Valley. The first one we're going to cover is a friend of yours, someone you've talked about you have a hell of a lot of respect for, and facing, that's Eddie Kingston, facing Jay White in a loser leaves promotion match between Jay White and Eddie Kingston. What did you think of the match? And were you aware that it seemed like that surprised you?
Yeah, that did surprise me. I watched with Japanese commentary this morning. I had no clue that it was a loser leaves New Japan match.
Doesn't the ending make a little more sense now the way Kingston was?
Yeah, for sure. But I am a huge fan of Jay White. I've watched some of his work over the last year. Big fan of his work, and the match today I loved. Later in the show, we're going to talk about a match where I told you that it seemed like everyone was countering into a dip and then a duck and then a flippy do, and then they hit their offensive maneuver. This was the complete opposite of that. These are two guys who were fighting, and they were just snatching each other up, snatching the motherfucker up and locking them in the move and hitting the move. And that's what I like, especially on your offense. There comes a time whenever you're telling a story, dude, when you're telling a story throughout the course of a few weeks or a few months, and you've wrestled this guy and you've studied this guy, and then you counter his stuff, and then it goes into, and that's when it makes sense. But in one of the matches we'll talk about later from Elimination Chamber, everyone was countering everything everyone else had. Right. And that to me is a disconnect because it's like they counter all these moves to hit one of their moves. And it's like, here, first of all, everybody in the match we'll talk about later, there was only one guy who is really over, really, right? And we've talked about people being over. It's a process. There's one guy who's really over. So he's allowed to do this thing where people are countering it and stuff because the fans know. But if I'm a young guy and I'm trying to get over and I'm still trying to get over, I don't want my stuff to come out of the counter into this where it looks like it was a lucky break. I want people to realize what I'm going for. Like, for example, Jake Roberts, for years and years and years, he hit the short arm clothesline, which led to the DDT. And everyone knew where it was going, right? And then maybe one day in 1991, he's working with Macho Man Randy Savage in Madison Square Garden. Maybe he sets up or he's calling for the short arm. Savage ducks that, right? Boy, and then starts jabbing and bam, 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 goes for the big punch, but he gets blocked and Jake rocks him with the right, grabs the arm, hits him with the short arm finally. Boom, calls for the DDT, stuffs him for the DDT. Savage counters out of that or backdrops him there. Boom. But that's because for the last 5 years, Jake the Snake Roberts has been conditioning this audience to short arm clothesline and DDT. But if you continuously have someone counter your stuff, they're never going to believe in you. And they're never going to believe in what you're going to deliver as far as offensive maneuvers goes. This match was the complete opposite of that. These guys snatched each other up. They were hitting these moves. And I knew what move, when the guys would hit the moves. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. When, for example, Eddie hit the exploder suplex, and when he hit it, I realized, okay, that's his move. He didn't hit it out of happenstance. Right. That's his move. So I thought the match was great. I love Jay as a heel. His selling as a heel is so beautiful. I think he is not insecure in himself. So he's allowing himself to be this heel and sell like a heel and put on the brakes and fall on his ass. And I thought his selling was great in this match. Let's see. I think the finish, I understand why and what they're doing, but I think they had the people at their last false finish that they did when Eddie hit him with the back fist and then stuffed him for the brain buster. He hit him with the brain buster 1-2 and the kick out. I think, this is my opinion, doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I think they should have went home right there, but instead he picked him back up and hit him with another brain buster 1-2-3. And understand that's kind of some of the Japanese style that we've seen before, but also I've seen this with the Kobashis and the Masawa matches or the Kawada and Masawa matches where these guys are battling for 35 minutes, 45 minutes, and they're exhausted and the exhaustion is set in. And that's why, boom, it had 1-2. Oh my God. And he snatches him back up for one more, boom, and he can't kick out. So I understand that, but I think they had the fans at the point. It was a 19-minute match. I think they had the fans at the point they did. And I think a lot of wrestlers nowadays have watched so much of those New Japan matches, or excuse me, All Japan matches, where they work more. A lot of the guys now work, and girls too, work more for the false finishes than they do the actual finish of the match. I think they work so hard to make the people say 1-2, oh, and that's where they get off on that. The wrestlers do, instead of working so hard for the actual finish of the match, where the people have a definitive reaction to the finish. If you go back, and I challenge you, Matt, and everyone else to go back and watch that false finish followed by the actual finish, and listen to the difference in the crowd there in those two moments. If they could have flip-flopped those crowd moments, the match would have been incredible. So that's why I think they should have finished with that false finish. Again, my opinion doesn't mean it's right or wrong. You know what I mean? That's just what I would have done, and what I would have chosen. Also, I want to tell Jay, we got to work on his spitting, dude. Woof. There was a lot of spit in that match.
There was some loogies going on in that match.
God.
Just inadvertent, purposeful, all kinds. Jay White, lot of talk. He might end up working with you. He might end up in WWE. People don't really know. But when I watched him, I don't know if you saw my tweet, I see a little bit of Larry Zabisco in him. Do you see just the stalling? He takes his time to a uncomfortable level that a lot of wrestlers, like you said, are fearful to do.
Right.
But he's fearless in that, just bring the booze upon me. I see him maybe being like a really popular good guy in the future, but I think the move is wherever he goes, he's got to come in as that just piece of shit Jay White, right?
Yeah, so I would never compare him to Larry because I would not want to do Jay that disservice. Larry was a fine wrestler, and I think the reason Larry stalled, and I think Larry would, I don't think he would tell you, but I think if you ask like Arn, he would tell you. But Larry would stall because I think sometimes he was a little lazy. But Jay, on the other hand, is so secure in his work that he knows he can get the people and he'll take that time and make sure that they are emotionally connected to this part of the match. I think obviously he's going to be a great babyface. He's good looking. He's cool. He's young, in shape. So he's going to be a great babyface. But I think right now, from what I saw today and the work I've seen over the last few months, dude, not being afraid of being an actual heel, not having to hit a move off he didn't do any kind of spectacular stuff, Right. And I think he realized that, and I'm not saying this to disparage Eddie because I say it about myself all the time. Guys like me and Eddie, as far as our work, we really don't do anything spectacular. You know what I mean? And I mean spectacular as in stuff off visually spectacular.
Right. Like if you saw it outside of a story, you would say, "Oh, that's really spectacular." Right.
Yes. And I think that Jay, who probably is way more athletic than me and Eddie, could have out athleticismed.
We'll take it. We'll accept it.
Yeah.
We'll accept it.
He could have out athleticism, out athleted.
You should have stopped. You should have stopped it the first time.
Eddie, but he didn't because he's secure in his work and he's secure in his character. So I liked the match a lot. I thought it was really, really, really good, dude. Both guys deserve a lot of credit for that one.
Don't want to talk about this match too much, but Eddie Kingston is interesting in a lot of ways because, first of all, like you said before, he's like a modern day Dusty Rhodes. Mm-hmm. He is the people's man. He's from New York. He is from the streets. He don't fuck around, Patna, all that stuff. But yet when he gets in the ring, it's just pretty much an homage to All Japan Pro Wrestling. Do you think that he's found a good way to kind of connect those two very divergent things?
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for him, a guy who probably, again, coming from the same cloth as me, a guy who probably shouldn't have made it because of the way that he looks physically. Same thing with me. God, I can see the clickbaits already. But someone who probably shouldn't have made it as far as he has in our business. Obviously, he's doing something right. Now, he and I think, have different philosophies on selling and psychology, but that's okay because he's respected for what he does. And I just would not be able to pull off the type of psychology and the type of matches that he does, just because I think I have a different thought on professional wrestling than he does. Again, doesn't make it any more right or wrong than my style or what I think it is. It's just two different styles. I would love to work with Eddie. And I think that the two differing styles would make for a really, really fun match.
I think we all agree with that. Eddie is awesome. And of course, the match ends with, like you said, a lot of spittle, but also a million spinning backhands. And, I'm not sure what you call that suplex that he does, but it reminds me of like a Saito suplex or something like that he did a couple times to finish the match. And Jay White is out of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Stay tuned to where he's going. The next match is really why we are reviewing this show. Your good friend, the former Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, defeated Kyrie to win the, pretty new title of IWGP Women's Championship. I think a lot of people saw a lot of nerves, or a little bit of nerves in her when she was in Tokyo. But what we saw was a glimpse of the new character, the same swagger, the same confidence, and also unfettered wrestling ability, where it didn't seem like she was editing herself the way she would have to in WWE.
Yeah, so you could see the emotion from curtain to curtain. You know what I mean?
Right.
You could see how much it meant to her. You could see how much it meant to Kyrie too. But this was Mercedes' dream. For as long as I've known her, this has been her dream. And watching it, I could feel the emotion. I took a picture of me watching the show this morning, and I sent it to her because I could feel what she was. And I don't know if she was purposely doing it or not, but I could feel what she was putting out. And that's what you want in wrestling. You want them to feel what you're feeling in that moment. I loved the match. I thought it was probably the best women's match I've seen this year. And I could be wrong, and I'll probably get eaten alive for that. But I thought it was the best women's match I've seen this year. They were given time. They sold everything perfectly. They started out the match wrestling. That was such a breath of fresh air to me to see that. They started out wrestling, but they're both so athletically gifted that they also incorporated that athleticism into their wrestling, which I thought was flawless and seamless. I think, this is my opinion, Mercedes, I apologize. I think we could have gone without the table spot. That's my opinion. That's what I think they were doing such a great job at the wrestling aspect that the table spot we could do down the line. You know what I mean? If they have a rematch or whatever. I see where they're going. This is the first women's match in New Japan that is like a really high profile women's match. So they probably wanted to pull out all the stops. I get that and understand that, but I don't feel the match really needed that one table spot. Other than that, man, I think it was possibly the best women's match I've watched all year, maybe, and one of the best wrestling matches in general that I've seen all year.
Wow. And it told a story. One of the stories it told was Mercedes trying to stay away from that elbow off the top rope. The fans knew that elbow. Kyrie's elbow is so impressive, the way that she moves her body as it lands. Yeah. It looks like it could just destroy anybody. And really, that's the story of the Kyrie, the Kyrie offense. But also Mercedes, the story is she this star? Can she carry this show? I think that question was answered. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, man, when they announced her, the building sold out. I'm correct, right? Isn't that right?
100%. So. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So they centered this show, even though she didn't go on last, they centered this show around her, and it paid off big time for her, for Kyrie, and for New Japan. Now I think is the time for New Japan to completely to put the foot to the pedal on the women's division after seeing this and what Mercedes and Kyrie both delivered in the ring, but also what the star power of Mercedes brings to the company. Gas on the pedal. Let's go full bore with this women's division and see what else Mercedes can do, because I know for a fact she'll load it up on her back and carry it.
The match ended with a really cool thing I don't think I've ever seen before. Kyrie went for the elbow off the top rope, but landed on the boots of Mercedes, not the knees up, but the boots. And then Monet went for the frog splash, caught the knees of Kyrie. Kyrie locked on the crossface, which forced Mercedes to bite her way out. She got Kyrie in the position for the Monet maker, money maker, and hit her finisher. I'm not sure what that finisher is. It's like what Cash called the luchador backpack into a DDT. That was the right way to finish that match. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
me.
Yeah, and the false finish with the Bailey to belly. Oh, that was
Oh,
so great.
great.
People bought that, dude. It was really, really good.
And when you looked in the stands, I know that Dave Meltzer was there. I know that CM Punk was there. I also saw that one Bailey was in the stands, not just sitting there, but leading the chants for Mercedes. So that Bailey to Bailey was definitely for her buddy out there. I don't think this match or this performance could have been any more beneficial or any better. What do you think?
I think out of the three names you named, 2 out of 3 ain't too bad, huh?
That's true.
Yeah. Speaking of saying that I apologize, I'm not even gonna get on that, Dave.
You know, we could have said something like he did take like a total cheap shot at you this week online for just the most bizarre, like not even make sense reason.
Made no sense, dude.
But we're
None
trying
at
not
all.
to be so negative. I don't want this to be a negative show. We want to, you know, and I know you said, hey, we'll just let that one go. But well, CM Punk was there. I think he was sitting next to Lars Frederiksen from Rancid.
Yep.
And they looked like they were having a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, CM Punk loves professional wrestling. CM Punk would love to be in professional wrestling too. So let's just get that out there. And I think CM Punk has a lot to offer to the world of professional wrestling. So does Bailey, though. You know what I mean? Because she's incredible. The other one, I don't know so much, but yeah, whatever.
Well, that was a great match. But let's talk about the headline match. We had Kazuchika Okada defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi. I've seen the two wrestle before. I don't know if it was the best Okada or Tanahashi match I've seen, but you still had all the things that you love to see out of those two matches, out of those two fellas. What did you think about the match?
Yeah, I agree with you. Same thing. Match was, nothing wrong with the match. Good match, good solid match. If it was their first match ever, I think we would, be like, oh my gosh, that was so great. But we've seen, so many iterations of those two before and other great matches. This one didn't make it to the expectation of the other ones have had, but still really, really good, man. They're two of the greatest of all time, not just in New Japan, but two of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And they have been carrying New Japan on their back for the better part of, 15 years, right? It's been quite a while for, I know that Tanahashi came before Okada, but they've transitioned to Okada as the main guy, and they both have been carrying that load for 15 years straight, and I think that they're two incredible wrestlers. I love what they brought to professional wrestling. They've brought more eyes to New Japan. But what I want to talk about more than the match, because the match was good, we all knew the match was going to be good with the two participants in there, is the aftermath. Did you see or hear the aftermath?
I actually missed it. Man, we watched a lot of wrestling and I was getting prepared for the show.
Yeah.
What happened in the aftermath?
So Okada grabbed the mic and he talked about their rivalry with Tanahashi and how many times they fought. And he said he thinks it's time to make the New Japan Dream Team. Okada and Tanahashi are gonna gear up together. He wants them to gear up together to go for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. And I would be I'd be remiss to say that I don't want to be involved in that. That's a tag team match that I would love to be a part of in New Japan, especially for the IWGP Tag Team Championships. To be able to call myself and Cash two-time IWGP Tag Team Champions is a dream. To have a tag team match, FTR versus Okada and Tanahashi, would be a dream match material, I think, and that's me patting myself on the back. But winning the IWGP Tag Team Championships from Okada and from Tanahashi would be bucket list stuff. And so I'm throwing my name in the hat as well for if that comes to fruition.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. You heard FTR might want a piece of Okada and Tanahashi, but definitely want a piece of that IWGP Tag Team title. Your belt's space is a little bit lonely these days. I think it might be time to start pursuing that, huh?
Yeah, I posted a picture the other day of all the tequila I had, and a lot of the comments that I got was, "You have more tequila than championship belts," and I don't like that, dude. I don't like that at all. I've got 7 belts hanging on the wall, 3 Fightful awards, 1 PWI award, and they still don't hold a candle to the amount of tequila I have. So we need to do we need to go on an excursion, Cash and I.
Well, when you're going on an excursion, you're going to get hungry, and when you get hungry, you like to eat cereal. And cereal's not that good for you all the time. It's filled with sugar. You know, that's why we loved it so much as kids. But it's a new year and it's a new you. So stay on track. That's right, with Magic Spoon. It's cereal that tastes like your childhood favorites, but with more protein and less sugar. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid. Growing up, my God, I eat way too much cereal. But as I got older, I had to watch out for sugar and empty carbs. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but high protein and less sugar. You know, I've been trying to find ways to get protein in my diet, finding ways to cut sugar, and I think I found the way because I'm in on Magic Spoon. I love it. Dax Harwood, what do you think about Magic Spoon?
Incredible. I've heard about it for years and years and years, being an avid Conrad podcast listener. I'd heard about it for forever. And finally joining the podcast train, I finally got a few boxes, and I told you one time before, I mixed the cocoa and the peanut butter, and I made like a Reese's combination, and I thought it was incredible. But I just cracked open the box of frosted cereal. Frosted cereal is so good, dude. It is incredible, and I really don't get like the aspartame aftertaste I thought I was going to get off of these cereals. It's so good. And the best part is, you know, when you eat standard cereal, it's full of so many like empty calories and sugars and stuff. So you're going to eat it and you're going to feel satiated for a little while, and then you're going to be hungry again. With this,
I noticed that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with the Magic Spoon, I felt full for quite a while, dude, especially just having a bowl and a half. I felt full for a while. So I love Magic. I can't say enough good things about Magic Spoon.
Well, Magic Spoon comes with a variety pack. The 4 flavors are cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. The only one I haven't tried yet is the fruity, but I dig them all. Yep. And like you said, man, it filled me up. And usually I'm getting the big bowl, the big bowl of cereal, and then I go for the second bowl. But I did not go for the second bowl. The cocoa tastes just like any cocoa cereal that you've had. But the pack of 4 flavors has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs. Only 140 calories a serving, guys. It's high protein, but has 0 grams of sugar. It's keto friendly, it's gluten free, it's grain free, and soy free. We dig Magic Spoon. We hope they're here forever because I want some more cereal, and I'm going to use that code myself. Go to magicspoon.com/FTR to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code FTR at checkout to save $5 off your order. It's $5. It's $5. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. Guys, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. What you got to lose? Remember, get your next delicious bowl of high-protein cereal at magicspoon.com/FTR and use that code FTR to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode. We are enjoying the Magic Spoon, Dax.
Yeah, I'm enjoying all of our sponsors, really, and I really didn't expect to. I thought it was going to be one of those things where, we got sent a few things, and I didn't know if I was going to like them too much, so I didn't want to really promote something I didn't feel was up to FTR standards. But, dude, I love Magic Spoon. It's incredible and guilt-free for me. I'll have a bowl, like I said, a bowl and a half, guilt-free.
And Magic Spoon's one of 2 sponsors that we had ad buys for, but we didn't receive the items yet. So we wanted to make sure that we tried them before we talked about them, because if it was something we didn't enjoy, we wouldn't advertise it. So we enjoy some Magic Spoon cereal. Dax, are you ready to do it? Are you ready to talk about WWE Elimination Chamber? I'm not sure how we're going to go about this, but are you ready to do this?
Yeah, I think so. Let's get the world talking.
So it's interesting because you're with the other company.
Mm-hmm.
So people just let's not read into things. Let's not Dax. If I don't want to know, I don't know what Dax and Cash are doing or where they're going, but I know that nothing herein is going to give a clue and is worth talking about as Dax is doing this or FTR is doing that. We are just talking about a wrestling show that we watched, and you're just going to be honest in your view of it. Is that accurate?
Well, I think over the last 6 or 7 episodes, that's all I've been is honest. And that's why half of the people love the podcast. And that's why half of the people maybe don't hate the podcast, just hate me. But you know, I feel that way through my whole career too, dude, is like, I just can't, I can't look at myself if I'm being fake. And so watching a wrestling show, I've got to give my honest takes on them. And if I don't, then I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So that's why I'm here. That's what I want to do.
Awesome.
And I enjoyed watching my first WWE event since leaving the company.
The first WWE event you watched since leaving the company a couple years ago. And the first match of Elimination Chamber 2023 was the Raw Women's Championship #1 contender Elimination Chamber match. The winner faces Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. It contained Asuka, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, Carmella, and Nikki Cross. First of all, what do you think about the Elimination Chamber format? It's the epitome of gimmicky, right?
Right.
But it seems they've honed it over the years, and it's kind of working for them. I personally enjoy it.
Yeah, I understand the concept, and I like the concept. I just wish that it wasn't a pay-per-view that we had to build to. You know what I'm saying? I wish it was. I wish it was something that was built to a pay-per-view. You know,
right?
If that makes
something
sense.
that happened organically that made an Elimination Chamber necessary, as opposed to it's there. Who are we going to put in it?
I mean, it's such a it is. I'm sure I've never been in one, but it's such a dangerous looking spectacle that I think that we should, or they should. I think that they should build to a dangerous type of match instead of making it about the who's coming in next and this is going to be a fight for who gets a shot at this next, or whatever. I think it should be like the very first Elimination Chamber was incredible. I thought the build was great. I thought it was put over as being very dangerous,
right?
Instead of just being a gimmick. That's probably the old, quote unquote, old school in me talking, but that's just how I feel about it.
So that's the difference between it being a detail of a larger story and it being the story. Right?
Yes, for sure.
So the match starts with Natalya and Liv Morgan. You haven't been in WWE for a while. What do you think of the evolution of Liv Morgan? Like, that is, I mean, if you haven't seen her wrestle in a while, I can imagine that is quite a change. She's already had the title and lost the title and carrying herself in a whole different way, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk about was how much she has progressed as an athlete, as a performer, as a character, dude. So when I was there, and she still is very, very young, but when I was there, she was still very young and young in the business, but there weren't too many guys and girls who wanted to make it as much as her. She wanted to be better. She wanted to be she wanted to be the champion. She was studying. She was asking questions. She's just, she has, as long as I've known her, she's wanted to be great. And she was my daughter's favorite wrestler for a very, very long time. But I watched today, dude, and she is completely fearless. Like has no fear. It seems like, at least. But yeah, watching from the eyes of someone who saw her last 3 years ago.
Right.
Completely different person, completely different performer.
What was she doing well?
Well, they started off wrestling. Her and Natalya started off wrestling, and just the wrestling was, I thought was spot on. It was, no pun intended for Montreal and for Natalya, but it was executed very well. And I loved that. I loved that her Strikes were great. I thought sometimes I think that wrestlers nowadays get a little too spotty. And I thought a lot of the things, not just her, but a lot of things that match were a little too like spotty instead of just being knockdown drag out. But when she did get the opportunity to show knockdown drag out, she showed that she could do it. So not only can she do the athletic stuff, she can also kick and punch. And I thought it was great. And she also conveys a lot of her emotion and drama and what she's feeling with her face. And I thought she's grown so much in that.
She really can. I think, you said she was Finley's favorite wrestler, and that doesn't surprise me because we were talking about another wrestler today. She connects. I think Liv Morgan connects with the little girls out there.
Yep.
And more than likely a few men out there as well. The next person coming in is Raquel Rodriguez. Not sure how familiar you are with Miss Rodriguez's work. She is, a very tall, big, beautiful human being who has shown she can be a force in WWE. What did you think of her?
Yeah, that's the first time I've actually seen her work, I believe. I know I've met her in NXT, but I think this is the first time I actually sat down and studied her work and watched her work. And I thought that she worked to her size. I still think that she's a little green, a little wet behind the ears, and that's okay. She's got a little work to do because some of the strikes I thought could have been thrown a little more crisp or with a little more intent maybe. But yeah, a beautiful woman who is also jacked, dude. She is super jacked.
Super jacked.
Yeah, her lat spread was incredible when she came out. When she did that, I was like, oh my God. I went and did some rows myself. But she's gonna be, I think she'll be there for the long haul in WWE.
Yeah, it appears to be a future champion there. How important is it for Natalya to be in the ring? You got Liv Morgan, you got Raquel, and of course coming in next was Nikki Cross. It's important to have Natalya in there, is it not? Because she is someone who knows what she's doing at every single moment.
Yeah, I think that in this specific moment, I mean, I've talked about Natalya before so much, but I think in this moment, in this match, she was, for the time that she was in there, the straw that stirred the drink. I think all the other people, excuse me, were the flavors or the decoration or whatever, but she was the straw that actually stirred the drink. Yeah, she's been a stalwart there, and I think she'll have a job there for life if she wants to. But yeah, it's good to see her get some well-deserved main event level pay-per-view time.
Nikki Cross, as I said, came in next, and you missed the Nikki Ash segment of her career in WWE where they made her a superhero with a mask. It did not hit. It was not great. It was not her. And now she is back to Nikki Cross. That is someone who knows her character. Is that something you would agree with?
From what I saw today, for sure. I knew her from NXT too, and that's kind of how she portrayed herself in the ring then. So she's had a lot of time to study this. And again, someone who's not afraid or insecure to go out there and make herself look silly for the advancement of the character.
Carmella's in next.
My girl.
To see her evolution as a wrestler as well, it's pretty cool. Like, she definitely almost seemed like one of the veterans in there. She looked great.
Yeah, it's funny too. I told you that Liv was Finley's favorite wrestler when I left WWE. Excuse me. And today, Finley is going to be 9 in just a couple of months. And so now she thinks she's like 16, and she looks up to all these like older girls, the teenage girls, and these women on TV of empowerment. She looks up to people like that, and she's a big makeup fiend. She loves like pretending she's making makeup YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. But she saw Carmella, who she's seen before, and she knew Carmella was the bad guy of the match.
Right.
And she said, because she was watching with me this morning, and she said, "Dad, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I think Carmella is my favorite in this match." And it's just seeing how much her little tiny, well, not little tiny, she's got a big brain, sorry, but seeing how much she has matured mentally from when I was in WWE last to as having Liv Morgan as her favorite, because Liv
Right.
was sparkly and nice and
Right.
and like had a bubbly personality, and like you said earlier, everyone's drawn to her. Now it's matured to Carmella, because Carmella's got the makeup on, she's got the fancy outfits, and she does the dances and stuff, and it's as a father, it's just fun to see how much she has matured from then to now.
The other night, you sent me a picture, and I just am curious about something. How often do you act as Finley's makeup model? Because you could not respond to me at that time because you were busy getting makeup put on. How often does that happen?
Anytime she asks. It could go from 1 to 0 days a week to 7 days a week. If she asked me right now, could she do her makeup? I would say as soon as Daddy's done with work, that's the first thing we'll do. But I want her to know that I'll always do whatever I can to make her happy.
And I mean, she can make that mustache pop. So, good on her. She's got a big future. And then back to the match, the final person comes out of the pod. Man, what a response. She is connected. That idiot online who used to wrestle for WCW, who says, oh, if you don't speak English, you can't be a star, blah, 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 blah. For real, Asuka. God damn, dude.
Well, I told you, just a few weeks ago, we talked about her, and I said that she is the biggest international talent that has made a connection since the Great Muta. And watching today, I thought maybe I would have to swallow my words a little bit. But when she came out of that pod, I was like, no way. She's got it. Doesn't matter. I also told you this too, today through text, speaking of another match, that a lot of fans, but not just fans, dude, people in general, like the former WCW writer you're talking about, think that charisma can only be associated with bad humor or people acting stupid or, being this big, huge class clown, but it is not. Asuka she's the right person to prove me right there, because she has so much charisma that she doesn't have to say anything. Same thing with Goldberg, who had so much charisma in WCW that he didn't have to say a word. People just were drawn to him. Again, Jeff Hardy, the same thing, had so much natural charisma. That's what charisma is. Not being funny at every single movement you do and every single moment you have on screen. Not trying to be this class clown. And that can equate to charisma, but it's not the only thing that equates to charisma. And a lot of people forget that. Like when they talk about Brett, not being a great promo back in his day, and I don't mean to tie this all back to Brett, and not having quote unquote charisma. He had to have charisma, because if he didn't have charisma, he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. If he didn't have charisma, then he wouldn't have the connection that he still has to this day, 23 years after the fact that he's retired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it blows my mind that some people say that an international star who can't speak English cannot be a star in America, because she's proving us wrong. So did the Great Muta. So did Shinsuke.
I'm speaking specifically of Disco, talking about
of course,
Takeshita, which was going to be huge. Let me ask you this: when I first showed my kid wrestling, one of the first wrestlers I showed him is Great Muta. I love the Great Muta. The Great Muta, just awesome. But is Asuka in the States a bigger star than Muta? I kind of might argue yes.
In today's world, I think so. Yes. I don't know if she's hit that legendary status that Muta has hit, in the States. I think if you go out and ask any typical WWE fan, can you tell me who Great Muta is? And then after that, can you tell me who Asuka is? Asuka would get the more response, and then people would know who she is. I think throughout, if we take peak Muta in the States and peak Asuka, I don't know. Maybe they're pretty even, and I could be holding Muta to a higher standard because of who he is and how long I've been a fan. So, I don't know. I think at the end of her career, probably, I think she will be.
Can you imagine if Great Muta would have gone to WWE in the late 80s, early 90s instead of WCW, what kind of star he would have been. And also lots of Brett matches, lots of, do you think that would have been a good fit for him?
Dude, I don't think so. I don't think so. And,
Oh, wow.
and, you know, and I could be completely wrong. I don't think so. Because then, you know, it was all about the promo and all about people talking. And, you know, that's what the matches were, the backdrop or an afterthought, you know. Obviously, when Brett came along later, that it kind of changed a little bit. But look, they brought in Hakushi, you know, who I think was just as, maybe not just as charismatic as Muta, but I mean, especially if you watch some of his Japanese stuff, he's very charismatic and an incredible in-ring performer. And the only time he had anything of any significance was with Brett. And so I think the only reason Muta didn't stick around WCW was because I think some of the people in charge of WCW saw how hot he was getting, and they probably didn't want him to get that hot. But you know, I don't know. I think that Muta has done okay for himself as far as being a legend in the business.
One of the greatest ever. And Asuka's on her way there. Asuka comes out of the pod, beats up everybody. We have a really dangerous looking thing happen with Liv doing a giant sunset flip off of the pod. Just jumping off the top rope, landing on your back. How does that feel? It looks terrible.
Yeah, it is the worst. And it just falling down on the mat sucks, dude. So that's why, like, you know, I see some of these guys take these bumps, big bumps and small bumps, and then they nip up right afterwards. And I'm like, dude, I know that you didn't not feel anything.
Right.
But
I know you feel like that for real.
Right. I know you're nipping up to try to look cool or whatever, but I'll tell you what's not cool is whenever I come off of the road and I can't play with my daughter because I bumped in my match, you know, the night before, and I can't go, I can't go outside and climb trees with her because it really does hurt. But in the course of the match, some of these people, some of these wrestlers are just nipping up or taking these bumps and they're getting right back up and there's nothing wrong with them. And I'm like, no. We are, if you do that, you're telling the fans they're exactly right. This ring is just a trampoline. You know, that's what they think already, is the ring is a trampoline and it's soft, but it's not, dude. Like, it fucking hurts. So we sell some of the shitty looking stuff, some of the fake looking stuff, but then the real stuff that hurts, we no sell it. It's ass backwards. It blows my mind.
Now, it looked very painful, as a lot of things in these matches. What did you think about Asuka's victory, and what did you think about the match? It sounds like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match a lot. I told you as soon as it was over that I really, really enjoyed this women's match. The chamber can be a very hard, I imagine it could be a very hard match to work into, but they did a great job. All of the girls, hats off to all of them. I haven't seen a match of Bianca Belair's yet, I don't think, but I've heard endless great things about her. And I am really looking forward to what her and Asuka can do at WrestleMania.
Bianca is the whole package. Bianca is it. She's fantastic. And her match with Asuka is going to be great. The next match is Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. You asked me what I thought about the match. I thought, you know, it's kind of this Lesnar super heavyweight WWE style. Like, for me, if there's a whole card full of these matches, I'm not sure I'd enjoy it. But for one match, I totally dug it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, very 80s, huh? Very 80s, like you said, super heavyweight, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd type match. But Lesnar has this aura about him, you know, and he has the people just believe in him, so he can do whatever he wants, and they believe in it, you know. It may be one of those things where at the end of the match, like this one, again, you know, not my cup of tea, and maybe not a lot of fans' cup of tea, but after the match, the fans can be like, oh, come on, that was shit. But then the next time Brock comes out, they don't care. They've forgotten about it because Brock has moved on from being a guy who can just have great matches. He's got such an aura about him. That's the price that a lot of wrestlers pay for just being known to have great matches. Because if you're just being known to have great matches and then you don't have a great match, it kind of kills your aura. But Brock is looked at as a killer. So he could, if he wanted to, he could turn it up and have, one of the greatest matches of all time. Or he can go out and have this match because they're probably building to a bigger story, and it doesn't hurt him at all because he's already got this built-in equity. And that's what a lot of wrestlers want. That's what most wrestlers want is to finally have in some built-in equity.
It's a lot like those 80s matches, but it also moves a lot quicker.
Yeah.
It's just move. And Lashley is totally believable. The finish, like you said, wasn't your cup of tea. There was a nut shot so that Lesnar didn't break out of the full Nelson, but also didn't submit to the full Nelson, right?
So I didn't mind the finish. I'm saying the match itself, the match structure wasn't my cup of tea. The finish I thought was fine. If this were the main event of the show and it had been promoted for, a month or whatever, and built up to this, and this was what the people were actually paying to see, the one match people were paying to see, and that was the finish, and that was the match, I can understand why people would be so upset, but it wasn't. People were paying to see Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, and then you got on top of that 2 Elimination Chamber matches. So that's what the people were paying to see. This match was not a main focus of the card. So I didn't mind the finish at all. I thought it built Bobby up, who had him in his finisher, and Brock, just being a shitty heel, kicks him in the balls, and it's a DQ. So I didn't mind the finish at all,
because you felt there is story still to be told, right?
I think there's story that can still be told if that's where they're going. If this were the blow off and that was the finish, then be pissed off, be mad. But people don't know where things are going yet, And so until you find the end, because of a journalist, people think every match has to finish with a definitive winner and a definitive loser. That doesn't always happen. Even in MMA, that doesn't always happen. In boxing, that doesn't always happen. So, sometimes I just disagree with the definitive winner and loser thing. I didn't mind that there was a definitive loser for sure. And that was Brock. And I didn't mind the low blow finish, especially if they're planning, and it looks like they are, if they're planning to go further with this angle.
Agree. And we saw a couple examples of that in this night. The next match is one we're definitely going to talk a bit about. Edge and Beth Phoenix defeated Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley, with the great Dominic Mysterio at their side. Of course, everybody online saw the Shatter Machine at the end. I guess before we talk about the match, there might be a story or two to tell.
Yeah. I mean, Adam's been off for a little while, and he just asked me if I would, work with him and help him get back into ring shape. So I did. Those two are Hall of Fame talent, and I am just lucky that they respect me and Cash enough that they wanted to pay homage to us using that move. But it was, I don't want to give the wrong impression to fans when I say this, especially with our contracts coming up in April. But hearing the name Shatter Machine, my wife, like when I watched it and I saw it for the first time, that the Shatter Machine and those guys hit it, and heard Michael Cole call it. Like, I was watching on my phone and I rewound it and I watched it and I rewound it. My wife just started filming me, and I said on the film, I didn't know she was filming me, but I said to her, I said, "Oh man, I'm so emotional right now." And she said, "Why are you so emotional?" I said, because they did your finishing move. And I said, "Well, yeah, that's very respectful." I said, "But I'm more emotional that they called it the Shatter Machine, because that's the name that I came up with, And it just was emotional to me that we have made a little small impact on the business that I have loved and cherished and admired for my whole existence, right? And we've made this little bit of impact where we came up with a move, we named a move, and they're still calling it that move. That's to me is so humbling, dude. Like, anyway, we are watching it and hearing it still called the Shadow Machine really made me feel. it made me feel. And I'm very lucky that those guys respect us enough to do it. I'm lucky also that company respects us enough to still call it that, because they could have called it whatever they wanted to.
Sure.
They could have called it an assisted code breaker or assisted lung blower, or they could have made up a name and called it the Edge and Phoenix or something. I don't know. They could have done whatever they wanted to, but instead they called it the name that I came up with. And that's beautiful to me.
And it seemed like Michael Cole had the Iggy that move was coming, because he said Shatter Machine like it was their finisher. It was cool.
Yeah.
So when I said you might have a story or two to tell, you told a different story than I thought. I was going to ask, if you had conversations with them about using the Shatter Machine, but what you said is you got in the ring with Adam Copeland, Edge, to maybe within the last few months to help him get ready.
Yeah, because he has been off, filming some things, and he just wanted to get back in the ring, and he knew that if he got in the ring with me, I wouldn't just take it easy on him, and so he and I met and got in the ring together, talked and hung out. I mean, we're very, very close friends. I consider them family, and I think they would consider me family as well. Our kids love each other. The first time that we got together to help Adam get ready, I brought Finley and he brought his two kids, and they just played for 2 hours. But yeah, I got to hang out with him, and his schedule is so hectic with the filming and now with WWE that it's really hard to catch him. I've been off for the whole month, so my lazy ass has been doing nothing but sitting at home. But I am just fortunate and blessed that we have the respect of them for them to use that. And we have the respect of obviously Hunter and the guys in charge there to allow them to use that move and to call it that name. So.
And you're not giving away whether or not it was a conversation you guys had about using it. Did he say, is it cool if we use this move, or was that a surprise?
It was a surprise. It was legit a surprise. We had some conversations, and I jokingly said, you guys should pull out the Shatter Machine. And
you be careful what you say, dude.
Yeah. And Adam said, well, we kind of had an idea to maybe use it. And I said, don't tell me anything more. I said, if you guys want help practicing it, let me know. I'll come help you. They didn't ask for help practicing the move. So I just didn't think they were going to do it. But they did it and pulled it off flawlessly, dude.
Yeah, the odds were against, especially when you consider the name and you consider, you guys and everything else. Very cool. The match itself was, these intergender matches in WWE where it's always man versus man and woman versus woman. Sometimes there's some crisscrossing that happens. This match had a lot of great moments in it. What did you think, though, of young Dominic Mysterio, the most hated man in all of wrestling?
Just the first
awesome,
time.
right?
This is the first time I've seen him. No, maybe I saw him. I think I saw him at Royal Rumble when Adam came back too. But yeah, the people don't like him, huh? But he plays the role perfectly. Again, someone who's not scared to play that chicken shit role. A lot of heels are. They want to be tough or look cool. But he doesn't. He doesn't care. I also thought it was very funny that he and Rhea were kind of like almost not to a disgusting point of dominatrix, but she was definitely the head of the household. I thought that was great.
He's got a shirt now that said, who's your mommy?
I saw that. I think actually Vicky Guerrero told me that. She told me that at TV's because he's had the shirt out for a little while, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So she was very happy about that.
And the recent story with Dominic is that he and Rhea they kind of invaded Ray's house during a Christmas gathering, and Dominic spent two hours inside of jail, and he came out hard with like a teardrop, tattoo, and the whole thing. And he's like, "You don't know what it's like in a big house, man. You don't know what it's like." And
it's even better, dude.
Isn't it great?
I hope to God Road Dogg didn't come up with that because I love that.
It's so good. What'd you think about the match? There was another thing in there that totally reminded me of Dax Harwood and FTR. There was the reaching the hand out, you know, that's FTR. Like to me,
for sure.
You know, but it was Rhea and Finn Balor who were doing it.
Yeah, it was just like the it was a callback to DIY, the DIY match.
Right.
And if I'm being frank with you, and I hope they don't get mad at me for telling this, but Adam told me that he and Beth had watched the 2 out of 3 falls match from Toronto with DIY. They had also watched the NXT Dallas match with Jason Jordan and Chad Gable to study for this coming up match. But yeah, it was a callback. The same thing. Ferg was going to tap, and Rhea grabbed the hand and said, "Don't you tap, don't you tap." That's exactly what I did to Dan. And then I was like, fuck it. We tapped out together. If we're going to lose, we're going to lose together. So I thought it was great. Again, surprise. I had no idea that was coming either. So that was really cool.
Overall, what did you think of the match?
I thought it was
great. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You've asked like 3 times, and I've yet to answer that question. I thought the match was a lot of fun. I think that Rhea is still a little green. You know, I still think she has a little in-ring growth to go for a television wrestling company. But I thought that Beth did an incredible job carrying her, especially considering Beth has been off for quite a while, you know. But I thought that Beth did a great job. I sent Beth a text today and said, if you wanted to come back full-time right now, you could do it because you're that good. Both those girls, though, their strikes were great. They had the snap to their strikes. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was a fun match, and that's what the match was meant to be. But also Ferg and Edge were so selfless in that match. If you go back and watch it, they were so selfless in the match. They took themselves out of the match and let the story and the action and the drama build around those 2 girls and Dominic too. So again, talking about being selfless and secure, Ferg and Adam, so secure in their work, so secure in who they are, they let these other entities shine because they knew they're already stars, you know.
They let them powerbomb them.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Yeah. Double
power bomb, but they let the girls get the shine and Dominic too, and that's those are pros.
Well,
and Finn Balor is. I never thought I would say this, which I guess I should have because I'd seen his New Japan stuff. What a great bad guy! Maybe because he's such a good-looking guy, I never thought it was going to happen in the States. What a great bad guy, dude! Great antagonist.
Yeah, he is really coming to his own with the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day is a faction that Edge started. They turned on Edge. A lot of people thought kind of strangely soon. But now with Dominic and Rhea having their relationship, it's really taken hold. So, guys, we want to talk about a new sponsor that we have here. Of course, if you want to advertise with us, you can just go to advertisewithftr.com. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube page because we have stuff going on every single day, clips of the show. Recently, we'll talk about it right now, actually. Yeah, recently, we had a match uploaded to our YouTube, and that match is a match a lot of people haven't seen. Speedball Mike Bailey versus Dax Harwood from WrestleCade. Of course, only can be seen on their network, or now, thanks to them, thanks to the Title Match Network and WrestleCade, you can see it over at watchdax.com. How great was that to share that match with everybody?
Yeah, dude, it got a lot of, you know, that night you were there. It got a lot of praise from the people in attendance and all the wrestlers.
Full dissolve.
Yeah. A lot of the wrestlers too. There were a couple of wrestlers that got mad because our match went 19 minutes and 59 seconds and they thought it was too long, but whatever. We won't talk about that right now. But, you know, I knew that it was something that I wanted the people to see. I wanted to get it out there so they could see this match because I was so proud of this match. I think it was my best. I don't know if it was my best singles match of 2022, but it was right up there. I mean, it was right up there with the Will Ospreay match, with the Cash match.
You got to win.
Yeah, so surprisingly.
That's true. You know.
Yeah. You're gonna get me in trouble. But you know, thanks to our friends at AML Wrestling, a great wrestling promotion here in the Carolinas, dude. They're always selling out. They're always having incredible cards, great talent, big, huge names, and always having great houses. AML Wrestling, thank you to to them for allowing us to do that. Check them out. They have a scaffold match coming up soon with White Mike and Brad Attitude. Brad Attitude's an incredible wrestler who's a veteran of the business, who's been in North Carolina for a very, very long time. Even signed to WWE for quite a while, and was in their FCW developmental territory. And they have my favorite tag team in the world, the Dawson Brothers. They're one of the stalwarts there. But yes, thanks to AML Wrestling, thanks to WrestleCade, who always puts on a great event every single year around Thanksgiving time, and thanks to Title Match for allowing you and I to put that on our YouTube channel.
And let's not sleep on someone I think has shown so much improvement over the last couple of years. White Mike, the AML champion. Love him inside the ring and outside the ring. Coming to a TV near you. He is worth watching. Check out AML Wrestling, but make sure to check out Speedball Mike Bailey versus Dax Harwood on WatchDax.com. But as I was saying, we have a new sponsor, and that sponsor is Miracle Made. Because whether you want to get more fit, be a better parent, or get more done at work, there's one thing that'll help. And man, you talked about it, and I struggled with it, and that's better sleep. With Miracle Made sheets, you can actually tap into the power of self-cooling temperature regulation, which is shown to improve sleep quality by up to 34%. Now, it's got self-cooling properties for better quality sleep because it uses silver-infused fabrics originally developed by NASA. Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. That's what a lot of people have trouble sleeping just because of temperature, Dax. Did you get a chance to try these sheets? Because I tried them. I love them. That silver is real because it's the heaviest sheet I've ever had, and it does keep you from getting too hot or too cool.
I have not tried it yet. Like I told you, I just got it. For some reason, my mail, even with the Magic Spoon and a few of the other sponsors, I get mail later than you do. But I just got the sheets 2 days ago as we're recording this right now, and I haven't had a chance to put them on the bed yet. But the thing I am looking forward to the most is that I am disgustingly a sweaty sleeper. So I always have to have a fan, personal fan blowing on myself to make sure I don't sweat too much. So I'm looking forward to that more than anything, because there's nothing worse than being uncomfortable when you're trying to go to sleep. And the most uncomfortable you can be, besides having a shitty bed and a shitty pillow, is sweating and being really, really hot. And I always have to sleep with covers on my body, because if I don't feel, secure or something like that. But with these sheets, I hope that they're allowed to, like you said, have a cooling property that will keep me cool and less sweaty at night, dude, because I hate waking up feeling like I just pissed myself.
Well, they definitely do. Like, there's a lot of expensive systems out there that cool you down, and this is just sheets. I noticed a difference right away. These sheets are also infused with that silver I was talking about that prevent 99.9% of bacterial growth. So we're talking about cleaner, we're talking about better quality sleep. Like I said, they're heavier and they're luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. So stop sleeping on bacteria. Clean sheets means less bacteria to clog your pores and fewer breakouts and other skin problems. Go to trymiracle.com/Dax to try it today. And guess what? As always, we've got a special deal for our listeners. You want to try this one. I dig it. Save over 40% and be sure to use our promo code DAX at checkout to save even more and get 3 free towels. And Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Dax and use the code DAX to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Dax to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this podcast. I'm telling you, you're going to love these sheets, Dax.
I can't wait, dude.
They're fantastic.
After getting over anxiety, I finally look forward to going to sleep now. figuring out that it was the anxiety that was causing my sleep issues. Now, one of my favorite, at one time going to sleep was like a scary situation for me. Now it's the thing I look forward to the most, I think, throughout the day. Coffee, tequila, sleep. There we go. And these sheets are going to hopefully, if the praise is right from you, these sheets are going to help me out.
For sure. You're going to report back next time
Yep.
on how the miracle is going for you. Try miracle.com/Dax. So we have 2 matches left. The first one was a United States Championship Elimination Chamber match. I will say it's really interesting and cool that recently in WWE, they have really put more importance on these middle titles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got Gunther on one side, who has got the Intercontinental Championship and doing great work with that. And then this title is so important, you're going to have an Elimination Chamber match with, you know, an established name in Seth Rollins, and then really 5 people for different reasons that, you know, might be using this match to kind of get more footing on the main roster. Is that how you saw it when you saw who was in this match?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that it was the Eddie Kingston Jay White match was the opposite of what a match we're talking about today, and it's this one. You know, you have one guy in there, and again, talking about Natalya with Seth Rollins, he was the straw. He was the guy to stir the drink, right? And he's got so much equity built up. He has been on television for 10 years now, maybe over 10 years now, and you know, he's been a multi-time world champion. He's a huge star. He is over, you know, he's over now. And his character now is something I've never seen him do before. It's great. It's great.
And the fans are loving it. The fans are loving
this they were
guy.
singing along with him. But now you've got, you know, let's see, Montez, who, you know, last I watched was in Street Profits. Johnny Gargano, Jonah, right? That's his name, right? Jonah? Yeah.
Yeah. They call him Bronson Reed.
Oh, okay. Bronson Reed.
But it is Jonah from New Japan Pro Wrestling, who got a win over Okada before he left.
Right. Yeah. They sent you out on a, take that out, because I don't know what I was going to say there. But yes, okay. So Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Austin Theory, right? So all these other guys that are surrounding Seth, again, who's the straw, they are not over yet. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that trying to disparage them, you know. I'm saying that they're not over yet. People like a lot of the fans and a lot of wrestlers too, not just fans, they like to equate reactions to the moves as them being over. That's not the case, man. When you make people feel a certain way, that's when you're over. So I watched this match, and if you look at it, you know, you loved the match. You told me that you loved the match. I watched the match, and, you know, watching it, sitting back and watching it, it was a good, fun, athletic type match. I thought it was, you know, everybody, you know, got to shine in their athleticism. But these other guys outside of Seth are still trying to get over. And so one thing I told you was every single move I seen from these guys was a duck it was a counter into a duck, into a slip behind through the legs, and they finally hit their offensive move, right? That's, to me, if you're trying to get over, that's not the way to go about it. When you're trying to get over, grab the motherfucker by the trunks, pull him into the move, and hit your fucking move right then and there. That's how you get the stuff over. And then eventually down the road, when it's over and when you're starting to get over, then people could start countering it. But every single thing I saw someone, you know, they would come in from the pod, and it would, you know, they do this bump around for a little bit, and then there was a duck, a hook, an over the head into a power bomb, and he lands on his feet, duck hook, and then the move, you know, or something into the go behind, into jumping on his shoulder, into getting the doomsday device, which flipped him over into a poison Rana gimmick thing.
Right.
And so it's like everything was there. There weren't any. I'm sure there were, but more often than not, the moves that were hit came defensively instead of coming offensively. And when that happens, to me, it starts to look more like a performance than a contest, if that makes sense. And I could just be staying on my soapbox and yelling at the clouds, but I'm not saying that anything those guys did was bad. The only thing I thought was bad was Montez Ford hit about 30 suckets. Then he tried a people's elbow. Then he hit the rock bottom. So
he seemed very excited to be there, didn't he?
Yes. So maybe I would kind of take that out of my arsenal. But watching, no one did anything bad. Everything looked good, and the match was fun. And it was an exciting match, but, I think maybe Montez did get a little bit of shine, and kind of maybe broke out of his tag team performance there. But other than that, like, no one else did except for Seth and Austin Theory, because Austin Theory won. It seems like people hate Austin Theory too. So that's good for him.
Well, Austin was the ex-chairman's favorite on screen before last year, and then he really had to kind of reclaim himself literally on screen as kind of this number one, trying to be a number one guy. The rumor is he's facing Cena at WrestleMania.
Whoa.
What do you think about Austin Theory, what you've seen?
Well, this is the only match I've seen of him, and I really didn't I don't think I got a good grasp of who he was for me to accurately tell you what I think. I'd have to watch more.
But if you were scouting him as a prospect, what would you think of?
Well, he's pretty young too, right? He's like 20 something.
He's very young, like maybe 25, 24. Like he's young.
Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Someone who looks like that and is that young, that athletic, for sure. And already has that much heat. Yeah, you got to have him on your team. I can't, like I said, I can't accurately tell you what I think of his work because I haven't seen enough of it. But if the office is planning on putting him in a match with Cena, then Cena must think highly of him, because Cena's not going to do something he doesn't want to do.
Right.
The office must think highly of him because they're putting him in there with one of the biggest stars of all time. And
he's 25.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy, dude.
He's got poise for 25. Don't you think? Does that make you look at him a little differently when you go, oh shit, he's so young?
Well, no, I don't have an accurate look at him. I don't have an accurate feeling about him yet. But thinking he's 25 years old, that means he was 6 years old when I started wrestling. That is crazy. Yeah, like I told you, I'd have him on my team. If it were me, I'd for sure, he'd be the first person I said, you're with me, But look, the match was fun. The match was good. I just think that we as wrestlers need to scale back this hitting things out of nowhere all the time. Like if Randy, because we're talking about hitting out of nowhere, if Randy hit the RKO out of nowhere at the beginning of his career, right, then it wouldn't have got over as much, or it would have taken way longer to get over. Instead, he would snatch a motherfucker up, hook him here for a second, then jump up and hit it. Boom. And then after he did that every single week on television for a year or two, then people started countering or whatever, or then it would come out of nowhere because people would know then what it was. They knew, oh, that's the RKO, he hit it, because they'd seen it for so long every single week. And you've got to pound that to people's heads. So that's my little criticism of the match, is to make, and just for wrestlers in general, make your offensive stuff, make it offensive. Then when it all gets over, and when you get over, then people can start countering. But if people start countering on day one, right? If they start countering your stuff on day one, what's going to happen when you're in the main event, on day 101, and someone counters it? Oh, well, I seen it in the first match. You got countered too. So really not that special now.
Right. Right. There's nowhere to go.
Right. Yeah. But we'll get off that match. Yes.
So, was it your favorite match for, reasons that you said? But really, we're here to talk about this match. Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns in Montreal. Not sure how acquainted you are with the backstory, but by most accounts, it is really well written, really nuanced. There's an undercurrent with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. There's a lot of story there, but the main story was Sami in Montreal. What did you think?
Yeah, I loved the match. I loved the match. Up front, they took their time, didn't let the crowd dictate what they were going to do or like dictate where their story was going or how they wanted to present this match. They were so secure in what they were doing and believed in themselves. They were going to get the fans however they wanted. And obviously it's already easy because they've been the main story and they're in Montreal, which is Sammy's hometown. But still, they were so secure. They took their time. They walked and every time that they would hit something, they'd let it breathe, and they had so much story on the back end too with the Usos. How long would this match? It was like half an hour, right?
Yeah, I would say so. So.
So,
but over 4 minutes after the bell ring before they touched.
Yes. Okay. Wow. I think so many guys now and girls would say, okay, we have 30 minutes. How many false finishes can we get in? And instead, these guys said, what false finishes can we get in to make them actually believe, make them actually believe this is it. This is the finish. I thought it was great storytelling involving his wife, Khadijah, who I think is a great human being.
Just everything rings so sincere.
Yeah, for sure. But that's her. She is a sincere human being. She's every time I've met her, she's always so positive, always smiling. Sammy's very lucky to have her. And, I guess she's lucky to have Sammy too, because he's very positive and very happy all the time too. But she portrayed herself so well because she actually does love him. It's like she actually cares about him and feels that way. So she doesn't have to pretend or anything like that. But yeah, the match was great. I loved it. I loved the story. I've always, at least since I was, on the main roster, when I got to see Roman every night perform every single night, he was the standard bearer for me, because I would watch his matches and he would never take a night off. These are these house shows. I'm not just talking about TV. I'm talking about house shows. He would never take a night off. Right. He would go 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and he wouldn't finish until he got the fans. And he was bumping his ass off and making the most out of everything. And so, I worked with a lot of guys then who were disparaged because they were stuck in a certain position on the card. And I never wanted to be that. And so they would just phone it in and they'd have the same match every single week with the minimal bumps.
They gave up.
Yes. And I never wanted that. I remember we had a match where we tore the house down, me and Dan. I can't even remember who we were working with, but we tore the house down. And one of the veteran wrestlers came to us and he said, you guys need to be careful with what you're doing out there because you don't want to get any of the main event guys mad at you. And I said, well, why would they be mad at us? And he said, well, because you're working so hard that they're going to have to follow that and they're not going to be happy with that. And I'm thinking to myself, is that real? Like, and me, yeah. I'm not going to do a 450 in the opening. I'm not going to do a 450 period, but I'm not going to do a 450 in the opening minute of the match and just have a car crash match. I'm going to have a logical match where I'm just going to work my balls off.
And how do you dial that back? Like, it's weird, right?
Same thing with Cash. We're going to work so hard because we wanted to make it, dude. I wanted Vince to be a fan of ours. I wanted him to love us as performers so we could move up, so I could make more money, so I could feed my family, but also because of the legacy that I wanted to leave on wrestling, right? So anyway, this veteran performer came to us and said that. And so Cash and I sat back and I was like, that, it really made me mad that was, if that was a thing, it made me mad. And also it made me mad that he kind of told us that. So I told Cash, look, I've got to go ask Roman. And I wanted to ask Roman and Seth. They were the two top guys when I was there, and they were the two top guys in the main events every night. I said, I'm going to ask them if there was a problem with how we performed tonight. So I went to them And I said, hey, so and so just talked to me and Dash, and said that we shouldn't work as hard as we did tonight many times in the future, because guys in your position will get mad at us. Are you, and Roman and Seth, the guys that watched every match in the front of the monitor, they would watch every single match. And so I said, is it going to piss you off that I'm working this hard, that we're working this hard? And both said, and I went to them separately. Me and Cash went to both of them separately. And they both said, absolutely not. Why would we get mad at you? Why would we be upset with you for working hard? Because all you're trying to do is make the product better. So next time we come to this town, more people will come. And they said, we would absolutely, both of them said they would absolutely never be upset with me for working hard.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I gained such a measure of respect for these guys. Because Seth, another guy just like Roman, who every single night he worked so hard because he wanted to be the guy. Roman was positioned as the guy, but Roman wanted to keep that position. And Seth wanted to be neck and neck, like I told you, with me and us and the Young Bucks. Seth wanted to be 1A and 1B with him. Right. And so they both worked so hard. So if I'm watching the main event guys work that hard, how am I not going to at least work that hard? I want to work a little harder than that, but how can I not work at least that hard? So I've been a huge fan of Roman's for years and years and years. He has obviously been on another level since I left, because he's been a champion. He's been their champion for, I think it was like 900 days or something. Is that right?
Yeah. And 900 days, but also very different in many ways, right? He's got a different look. He is a bad guy now. The first 4 minutes, I think I tweeted, this is Roman Reigns' greatest moment. Because when you have the fans cheering for Sammy like that, there's a million things the other guy can do to either ruin it or make it better. And it seemed like every facial expression he made, every movement he made, Roman perpetuated and made the response even bigger and bigger. What do you think of the maturity and the evolution of Roman Reigns into almost, not Rock Hogan maybe, but definitely Cena level, right?
I couldn't agree with you more with that. Talking about the facials, watching that match, I learned from him, because his facials started off at first. His facials were, it showed the emotion of he's not taking this seriously.
Yeah, who the fuck is this guy? Right. Yeah.
Then the fans kept cheering, and then it got him pissed off. Right. You saw how mad he got on his face. Then the fans kept cheering, and Sammy showed so much poise and he showed so much confidence that in turn Roman's face dropped, like, oh my God, maybe this is a real thing. You know what I mean? It
was so great. Yeah.
I mean, and listen, I understand, because I've been there. Not every wrestler, not most wrestlers. Most wrestlers are not going to get the opportunity that these two got, to have 4 minutes to allow their facials to change like that, to have 30 or 35 or 40 minutes from curtain to curtain, to tell this story. I get that and understand that. But when you're tasked with that, you always got to deliver. And they were tasked with that, and they delivered. So I can't commend him enough on the match. I thought the match was beautiful. I thought the storytelling was beautiful too. And I would love to see where they're going to go next, because with the Usos, it seems like, from what I've seen on the back end of that, seems like it's going to be Sammy and Kevin against the Usos at Mania.
That's what people are saying.
Which would be that'd be great for tag team wrestling, because it would be a traditional tag team and then two best friends fighting for the tag team belts on the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
And they are the unified tag team belts.
Yeah.
So you've got that coming up, but just a little bit more about the match. You talked a lot about psychology in the first couple matches. I want to talk about, you say a lot, 1-2-0, 1-2-0. This match had 1-2-0s, but one of them is something that always happens with Sami Zayn, and who's someone it's documented I've been a fan of for a long time. That Blue Thunder Bomb gets everybody every time, and I don't know if he's ever beaten anybody with it. It's kind of amazing the way that Sami can get people to buy into his finishes, right?
Well, yeah, but I think it's also just as much a credit to Roman, and it's not the 1-2-0. I got to correct you. It's the 1-2-3. Oh my God! You
Oh,
know what I
right,
mean?
right.
1-2-0 is the built-in reaction that all the fans do now, and then the wrestlers equate that with, yes, I'm over. This match is over. But when you get the fans to say 1-2-3, oh my God, that's
They're
what got me.
fooled when they're
Yes.
fooled. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't get that reaction on every single false finish, but that's totally okay. But when you get it, if you get it at least once, then you fucking got them. But the reason that the Blue Thunder Bomb works, when it works, is because the scenarios that are painted around that move. Guys and girls like to hit big bombs and cover 1-2, kick out. And that's what Dave Meltzer rates as a 5-star match. And so that's what they try to do. They try to make sure they please Dave Meltzer so they can get a 5-star rating. But when you forget about the scenarios that are painted around the moves, that's when you lose that's kind of when you lose a little bit of the magic,
Right.
because you can hit these moves, boom, boom, 1-2, oh my God, or you can hit a beautiful move and the people are going to stand and give you a standing ovation because the move was so cool, but you don't really want that. You want them to believe in you. And so whatever you paint, the scenarios you paint around these moves, like his Helluva kick, the scenario he painted around that is what made the people believe in it, and the equity he's built up in it too. But they're both top-notch performers, both those guys.
So you love the match. What did you think about the ending, the finish?
Yeah, I thought it was the right way to go. I thought that they built it perfectly, and I thought that it was, if they weren't going to have Sammy win, I felt that was the right way to have him not win. And then he got the shine on the back end too, with Jimmy, and
right.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, Roman is the biggest star in the world, right? So you got to have him. I would think you got to have him as your perennial champion going into your biggest show of the year,
against the challenger that a lot of people think might be the next guy, Cody Rhodes, right?
Yeah. So, I'm not saying that Sammy should never be world champion. I think I told you, a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago that I thought he had every attribute to be world champion. But I think at this point right now, leading up to Mania, you want the guy who's been the champion for 900 days or whatever it is, who is the biggest star in the wrestling world. You want him to be the champion going into your biggest show of the year. And we don't know where this story is going to go. Who knows,
Right. That does make sense. So that's the match. That's the event. What did you think? You watched a WWE pay-per-view. Yeah. You haven't watched one in years. Did you enjoy yourself? Did you like it?
Yeah, man. It was fun. It was tedious because it was very long. And I haven't made myself sit down and watch any wrestling for that length of time for a very long time. But, it was a very good show. I thought it was really good. That's all I'll say about it. It was a very, very good show.
Do you see any changes? Like, what's changed since you were there? Is it palpable? Is it something you can see on screen?
Yes, I think what's changed the most, and obviously I haven't seen enough to know how the show has progressed, or if the in-ring action is better, or if the stories are better. I haven't watched enough to know that. But watching it tonight, I don't see doubt in people's faces. Like in their matches, is someone going to get mad at me for doing this? You know what I mean? Or do I need to grab a hold right now in this portion of the match? You know what I mean? Because there was a time where it was a rule. Didn't matter the length of the match. Could be a 2-minute match. It could be a 20-minute match. It was a rule that you had to at least grab 2 holds in the match. And that was a directive from Vince. And,
okay.
If the hold doesn't fit, why force 2 holds in a match? So like, if you go back and watch, our quick matches with Lucha House Party, we still had to jump and grab, depending on the time, but we had to grab 2 holds.
Two hold minimum.
Yes, and I don't mean like lock up, snatch a headlock, and here we go, tackle, drop down, leapfrog, reverse hip toss, arm drag, drop kick with me over the top rope. I don't mean that. I mean like you had to sit in a hold. You had to sit there, and it was. I can see the most of the doubt erased from a lot of the wrestlers' faces. It seems like.
So a lot of confidence. You saw more confidence. That's interesting. So that brings us to the end of Elimination Chamber. Real quick, we have a non-wrestling question from Twitter, unless you have one. Do you have one?
I do, but what's yours?
Well, I was going to go with someone who I know is coming to our live show in Los Angeles, March 30th. He goes by hashtag FTR Express. Floyd Johnson Jr.
My dude.
Great guy, huge FTR fan. He asks, is there a song, movie, or TV show that you listen to or watch when you're down and it makes you feel better?
Yes. So the television show that I watch I don't really have a movie, I don't think, in particular that I watch to make myself feel any better. But The Office always makes me feel better.
Right.
Always makes me feel better.
Favorite episode?
Oh my God. My favorite episode is Phyllis's wedding. I love that. I love that. When he's walking her dad down the aisle, he says, I pushed his old ass or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that episode, I mean, I know there's a ton of episodes that are more critically acclaimed than that one. But that's just hilarious to me.
I love Dinner Party.
Yep. I love Dinner Party too, with the television screen and all that stuff. And then the one where, God, I can't remember, my good buddy, great professional wrestler who deserves a lot more than what he's getting right now, John Schuyler. He'll know what I'm talking about. But there's one where Michael's getting a pep talk, and the guy says, "Man, you Braveheart." And Michael says, "Yes, I Braveheart." And that just, I lost it, dude. So that's the show. The song, there's a couple of songs, but two songs I'll say from Eric Church that really put me in a good mood. Springsteen, to me, one of the greatest country songs of all time. It's a great story told in the song. I love when a song can take a turn and fool me where the lyrics are going, and his does that. That one, I love that song, Springsteen, and I love Living Part of Life. Living Part of Life is probably the song that makes me feel like, it reminds me that life really isn't that serious.
I'll chime in on just the music because
you are a musician.
Yeah, I do play music. I remember driving Matthew to school. I drove Matthew to school every single day until he was old enough to drive, just because it was time we could spend together. A lot of times we'd be tired and down, and I would put on September by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, that's so funny. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. But there was a time where when I guess it was a year ago or whatever, maybe half a year ago,
right.
I would always wake my family up because I always wake up for them, but I would wake them up by playing a song on my phone. And that's how I wake them up. And for such a long time, it was September because it was such a feel-good song. And Finley and Maria both would get out of bed, and all three, God, we sound like the prototypical television family, but we would all start dancing to that song. They would hop right out of bed, and we'd all just start dancing to September. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Earth, Wind, and Fire is the most uplifting music ever. Like every single bit of it. And that song, it's impossible to stay in a bad mood when you hear do you remember? It's fantastic. So what Twitter question do you have, Dax?
Oh shit, I forgot.
That is amazing. But it's September,
yes.
It's iconic. It is such a great song.
This one comes from @the_PW Casual. It says number one LA Knight fan. Yeah. Non-wrestling question. What would your advice be to people who experience severe social anxiety? I don't know that I have any advice for that specifically because I've never dealt with that. And from what I hear, that's a really hard thing to deal with. I will say when I was going through anxiety, I remember I was scared to leave my house, not necessarily afraid to be in public, but I was scared to leave my house and go out in public. I was scared to drive. I didn't want to drive. I remember whenever this first happened, I just stayed in my house for like a week straight.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
How much do you think the quarantine contributed to that?
I don't know. I thought about that. And I talked about that with my therapist too, where life is, I don't mean to make light of anyone else's day or life, but up until the quarantine, my life, along with every other WWE wrestler's life at the time, who was on the road as much as Cash and I were. And like I've told you before, 2019, we were on the road. We had more matches than any other talent, us two and Baron Corbin.
Right.
And so, before the quarantine, it was like, 4 days a week at the very minimum for me and Cash, because we were getting paid such little money that they knew they could get away with having a match without paying us a ton of money. But anyway, 4 days a week, this was our schedule. We would, to start the week off, we would wake up early in the morning before the sun was even up. We'd go grab coffee, or we'd go to the airport, get a coffee in the airport, fly to the town, jump in a rental car, go from the rental car station or the airport or whatever to the gym, work out go get a coffee, go to the gym, work out. After that, get food, get another coffee, go to the building, get our shit on, have the match, get done with the match, get another meal, grab another energy drink or another coffee or whatever, drive 2, 3, 4 hours to the next town, sleep for a couple of hours, do it all over again. Wake up the next morning, get coffee, gym, food, building, match, and you drive to the next town, and you would do all that. And then you'd get home. At least I would get home. I'd fly in. I'd always leave the earliest. I'd always take the earliest flight home so I could be with my family, and they'd pick me up at the airport. We'd go straight to a coffee shop. We'd sit and have coffee. And then, you get 1 day off, one real day off, and then you do it all over again. Right. And so the pandemic, and lockdown stopped it all. It went from 1 week, that's what we were doing, to the next week, nothing at all. Right. So I think it did have a lot to do with my anxiety and my sleep and all this stuff. But getting back to this question, I don't know a lot about social anxiety, and I've never really experienced it, but I do know that I stayed home for over a week. I wouldn't leave my house. I had a gym at my house at the time, and I worked out there. I wouldn't leave to get food. My wife would go to the grocery store and all that stuff because I was too afraid to leave. I don't know why. I just was afraid to leave. And one day she said, she came home to the house and from wherever her and Finley went. And I was just sitting, dude, it was such a scary thing to think about now, especially seeing the image in my head. But I was sitting in front of the TV, right? On the couch in front of the TV, staring at a blank screen. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. I was staring at a blank screen on the TV. The screen had nothing. The TV was off. And I was staring at the screen, and she walked through the door and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "No, I'm nothing, just sitting here." And she said, "Okay, get up. You've got to get out. We've got to get you out of this house." Wow. And I was so afraid. I was like, "No, babe, please don't make me leave. Please." She said, "You have to. We have to get you out of this house. Let's go to Starbucks." And at that point as well, I talked myself into believing the problems that I was having for some reason was coming from coffee, was coming from caffeine. So I was afraid to get coffee, afraid to have coffee. I remember I was afraid to have coffee after 1 p.m., dude, because I was scared that it was weird. Anyway,
you were so desperate to sleep.
Yes. Right. And so I told her, I said, "Let's go. We can go to Starbucks." I said, "But I'm not driving. You've got to drive." And she said, "Okay, that's fine." And we sat there, and I remember we sat outside. We didn't go inside. We went outside, and we sat outside of Starbucks, and I was just so paranoid and so scared, dude, because of anxiety. But if there's any advice I could give you for social anxiety is, please talk to a therapist, because they can help you find the root of this social anxiety. And when you find the root of your anxiety, that's when you can start fighting it. That's when you can successfully start fighting it. And I've said it before, but you can never, ever, ever defeat anxiety. It's going to be there for everybody. It just comes in different forms to people. But it's always going to be there. You're never going to fully defeat anxiety. You can only defeat it a day at a time, right? And every morning I wake up, the man I perceive to be God, I say, thank you, God, for fighting anxiety with me yesterday. But today is a new day and I got to fight it today. And he fights it with me, what I perceive to be God, and he gives me the strength to fight it as well. So all you can do is fight it every single day. But when you find the root of what your anxiety is, then it becomes easier to fight it. And it becomes easier to figure out how to handle it. So find out how you can handle that anxiety. And if that does mean having to find medication, that's perfectly okay. Don't let the media, don't let anybody else tell you any different. Okay. Anxiety, medication, it was built and made for people like us, and it saved my life. It really did. Like I said before, I started with Klonopin and I had to take 2 or 3 a day. Now I haven't taken Klonopin in years, but I do have some, and if I need it, I will use it, but I don't need it.
Right.
So yeah, that's all I can say to that. I wish I had a better answer for you. I just don't, because I've never specifically felt social anxiety.
I'll say for myself and the kids I work with, where I've seen a multiple of mental health issues that I've seen, I'm close to the kids I work with. I'll put it that way. And sometimes I'm the one they reach out to. The quarantine and the pandemic, without taking a side on it at all, because nobody knew what it was doing, right, had a real effect on these kids. Mm-hmm. So if you have a 15-year-old, think about what was going on when they were 11 and 12 and 13 years old and check in on them. Mm-hmm. Because we're seeing a lot of that, myself included. We developed a lot of habits during the quarantine, like getting food delivered and staying away from people, not going out, and maybe talk to somebody like I have to try to break out of those habits, but check on those kids because they might seem like they're doing okay, but that was a rough 2 years for a lot of kids. But I think we should switch the subject to end the show with our Dax Harwood match of the week.
Mm-hmm. So I thought about this match because I saw someone on Twitter ask, what is the greatest match that's less than 15 minutes? Because somewhere along the way, people equated great matches with length of time. And I think the greatest less than 15-minute match of all time is Tully Blanchard versus Magnum TA I Quit Cage match from Starrcade 1985. It's the epitome of babyface selling and the epitome of heel selling. It's the epitome of fighting. And at no point did you say, "Oh, this is just a performance." At no point did you think that, right? Now we look at it in 2023 and the business is all out and we're like, oh yeah, yes, it is a performance. But I bet if you ask those two guys how much of a performance it was, they'll tell you not much. And it was grit and determination and for a championship, but more than that, it was for their pride. It was good versus evil. Every strike, dude, every punch that Tully threw, and Magnum too, but every punch that Tully threw had intent. And then when it was Magnum's time to get it back, he did it all tenfold. His punches were there too, and his kicks and everything they did had purpose to it. It was what I feel is missing a lot in today's wrestling is the intent to hurt someone and the intent to do something. And I think that match is just so beautiful. I think it's the greatest Starrcade match of all time.
It might be the greatest cage match of all time. Might be the greatest I Quit match of all time. One of the matches I showed my son when he got into wrestling. Story about that match. Do you remember who refereed that match?
Was it not Tommy Young?
It was not.
It was a Hebner.
The referee of that match dropped by my music school last week to say hi, and that was Earl Hebner. It was Earl Hebner who ref that match. Yeah.
Wow.
And I had an ad-free shows thing where we talked about the anniversary of the twin referees, and I got to host that, and he came by to thank me because I decided to do him a favor and not ask about Montreal. And he thought that was really cool that I didn't ask him about Montreal. But it was Earl Hebner. What a great match. The epitome of a heel, the epitome of a babyface. Magnum TA, what could have been. And also, Tully Blanchard did not see I Quit.
No, if you ask him right now, if you called Tully right now and you said, "Hey, did you like the I Quit match?" Well, I never said I quit. 30 something years later, he's still never said I quit. But yes, wrestlers, please watch that and know the distinction between the selling of a great baby face and a great heel. And fans that watch it, just please get lost in it. Don't try to, dissect it because it's an older match. Just get lost in the emotion and the drama and the brutality. It's one of my favorite matches of all time.
Just the chair coming over and being broken apart. I mean, everything is just so
dude,
perfect. And then finding the hard, like there's not a hard cam, but it's the argument for the hard cam. That finishing shot with the chair piece.
What a creative state of the art finish then too. You know what I mean? Like you didn't see finishes like that. Someone thought about throwing a chair in, smashing it and getting the sharp edge and like that's when you're able, I talked about this with the Shadow Machine, leaving something lasting on professional wrestling. That's something that me and Cash can leave. That finish is something that Tully and Magnum can leave on wrestling.
And we're going to leave you now. But before we do, remember, go to FTRwithDax.com. Come see us in Los Angeles. Come hear stories you're not going to hear on the podcast. And come see some surprise guests. Of course, we already announced one guest. Cash is coming. And we're going to have some others. Dax, this was a great episode. Did you have a good time today?
I did. I had a lot of fun. Current product is not what I'm usually my best at, but I thought today was great. I enjoyed the pay-per-view. I enjoyed the performances, and I enjoyed seeing the Shadow Machine on WWE television again.
All right, by now, guys, I love talking about old wrestling. What you might not know is it's not my real passion. My real passion is helping people save money. My real passion is getting families out of apartments and into houses. My real passion is getting people's finances aligned so they can retire on time. I hated going to Walmart and seeing the greeter being 80 years old. She should not be working. She should be home. Why is she still working? Because she still has a mortgage. I want to help avoid that for you. The other thing I want to help you with, let's make sure your kids don't get saddled with student loans. If you've got a student loan, why did you get one? Maybe because your parents still had a mortgage. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm being sincere. There's only so much money to go around. What I want to help you do is figure out where you are right now and where you want to be long term. And I do it at SaveWithConrad.com. I've been doing mortgages for more than 20 years. And during all that time, we've helped tens of thousands of families change their life. I mean, routinely, we're helping our podcast listeners save $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But more importantly, get them out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. But if you don't think it can happen for you, let me just tell you this. We are not the bank. We don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a game plan on how to improve your credit, how to save a little bit of cash, and how to get into that dream house. Maybe you're already in the house, but it would be nice if someday we could put a pool in the back, or one day we want to upgrade to hardwood floors, or remodel the kitchen, or get a badass master bathroom. I can help you do all of that with no money out of pocket right now at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. Check it out, SaveWithConrad.com, NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. And hey, y'all, don't take my word for it. Check us out. We've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And as if that's not enough, go look at our reviews. Read them and weep, haters. ConradReviews.com. You'll see more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Our average review is 4.72 stars. Find out how much money you can save. Take control of your life in 2023 by taking control of your finances. We're going to show you how to keep more of your own money. If you've got credit card debt, what are you paying on that? 14%? 28%? You know you can do better. With the mortgage, though, you may not know this, the interest you pay is tax deductible. And we can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. So if you can get a lower monthly payment, pay your debt off faster, get a greater tax deduction at the end of the year, and right now, right after the holidays, skip your next 2 payments, buddy, this is the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com, or hey man, shoot me an email directly, Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com.